Hello, welcome to my quarterly reading wrap up. I'm going to try to do these for 2026 because this year I've read more books than I have for the past 5 years, the amount of years I've been recording what I've been reading. Now, let's be honest, most of it's through audio. I have a job where I can listen to a lot of books, but I'd still like to talk about them. I'd like to share some of my thoughts, so here we go. So the first audiobook I listened to this year was The Crane Husband, and it was good. It wasn't my vibe exactly. I heard about it. It was a short audiobook. I could listen to it for free on Spotify. It just wasn't super for me. It had flowery prose, which I typically like, but the characters didn't exactly grip me. It is kind of the story of this girl who lives in a family where the mother is extremely she sleeps with a lot of different guys, and the guy that ends up sticking around can turn into a crane. Now, there's obviously a lot more to it than that, but it's kind of disturbing nature and attempt to get you to think about the people that you might not think about very often, like those who are more impoverished than you or don't have a functioning family. Worked quite well, and I appreciated that, but I just didn't vibe with the story a ton. The second book I listened to was Tender is the Flesh. This is a horror story about a world where eating animals will make you sick. At least that's what the government tells you. So people don't really want to be vegans or vegetarians. So they switch to eating humans, and we follow a guy who works in a factory that produces human meat. This was an extremely disturbing read, and after I finished it, I was talking to my wife, and I said, I don't think I could recommend this book to anybody. And then my wife said, well, what about your sister? And I said, oh, you are correct. She would love this. And then I talked to her about it, and she had already read it, and she loved it, because she likes all things gothic and creepy. This is, it's a disturbing read. There were times I was listening to it while I was eating lunch, and I had to pause the audiobook to continue to eat my tomato soup, which, fortunately, it didn't include meat, but yeah. I really liked this book. It was definitely a difficult listen, but it was good, and it's like 5 hours or something. The next book was actually a book I was able to read. I read Dune by Frank Herbert. Now, I have this very pretty copy. It was actually the second time I've read Dune. I read it in high school, and I thought, it's okay. And I read it again. I watched the movies, I love the movies, and I was like, I should try the books again. And it worked so much better the second time. Having the movie to visualize what was going on helped. And I think just maturing and able to read more complex stories. And, if you don't know, Dune is about the desert planet of Arrakis, where you can get spice, which spice is the most valuable product in the universe because it allows for space travel, and it's a narcotic that many of the rich people use, and it's obviously addictive. So they still want more of it. And it kind of allows you to see the future. And we follow Paul as he is thrust into this world. It's a very good book. You almost certainly heard of it or the movies. Fantastic. Easy, 5 out of 5. First time I read it, fine. Second time, absolute cinema. It's amazing. I heavily recommend Dune. Well, you don't need me to tell you that. The next book I read was actually a manga. It was Goodnight Pun Pun. Volume 1. This is Volume 3, because I actually have Volume 1 and 2 loaned out to a friend, but Goodnight Pun Pun is a story about a regular kid named Pun Pun as he goes to school, and he doesn't quite look like everyone else, but that's absolutely never addressed. This is a very pretty manga where the children act incredibly real. It feels like you're staring into somebody else's life in middle school, but all the adults act absurd and disturbing, and it is I view it as a story of growing up and being alienated and not understanding the world. It is a dark story, and it is depressing. Pun Pun has not great parents, either emotionally unavailable or abusive, and his friends are not the most reliable friends either, but again, that's middle school. And I have all of these, so I will read them, but they don't exactly warm my heart. I liked Volume 2 which we'll get to, much better than Volume 1. The next audiobook I listened to was Tailored Realities by Brandon Sanderson. This is his sci-fi short story collection, so none of his Cosmere stories, and I was like, the only reason I picked up the audiobook was because every story is narrated by a different narrator, and they're fantastic narrations. Some of them, there's a little bit of music at the beginning, and the stories are unique. I actually enjoyed quite a few of them, but it's also just fine. There isn't like anything mind-blowing. I honestly, like, thinking about it now, like, I can remember some of the stories, because this was back in January, so I remember some of the stories, but none of them quite stick. And I recommend reading it or listening to it, but this is more for somebody who just enjoys Sanderson's writing or enjoys weird Twilight Zone style sci-fi short stories. Again, good, but nothing incredible. The next audiobook I listened to, Heretical Fishing. This one, my wife suggested to me. She doesn't listen to a ton of books or even read a bunch, but Heretical Fishing caught her eye because it looked extremely chill, and it was something she could just listen to while she built models for school and such. And after she like finished the first 3, and she's like, you have to listen to it. And I'm like, fine, I'll listen to it, because I normally don't love low stakes stories. I usually prefer something bigger, but Heretical Fishing was amazing. It's basically Stardew Valley the book. This guy gets isekai'd into this world when a truck hits him, and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to do the anime thing where I get super powerful. I just want to learn to fish. And he improves the lives of those around him, and he goes fishing, and it felt so much like Stardew Valley that I put a lot more hours into Stardew Valley in the coming weeks after that. One of my favorite games ever, but this book reignited my love for Stardew, and Heretical Fishing is fantastic. You should 100% listen to it or read it. The audiobook is fantastic, and it's an indie book too. Support indie books, and I loved Heretical Fishing. It just made me so happy. I am excited to listen to Heretical Fishing 2 at some point. The next book I read was a manga, a manhwa. It was Solo Leveling number 10. Now, for the first 5 or 6 of Solo Levelings, I was enjoying them quite a bit. I've been borrowing these from my friend. He's buying them. He's lending them to me, and I've been reading them. And they're good. I was having fun with them. But after volume 6, I'm like, this is the same thing. And the only reason I kept borrowing them and kept reading them is it takes me under 2 hours to read each volume. They're small, the artwork is pretty, and it's in color, which is nice, because a lot of comics I read are not in color. But it's just the same story again and again. It's fine. I'll keep reading them if my friend keeps lending them to me. But I don't know if I could tell you the story. I could maybe tell you some of the cool guys he beats. But it's just about this overpowered dude who can't lose. And it is fun seeing that every once in a while. But I prefer that with character depth. See Dungeon Crawler Carl. The much better version. It's very different, but somewhat similar. The next book I read was Assassin's Quest. Now, this is part of the Farseer trilogy. This is the 3rd book in the Farseer trilogy, where we follow Fitz. He's a bastard, a part of a royal family, and this is the book. He gets trained as an assassin, hence the title, and this is the book he goes on a quest. This book broke me. The last 50 to 100 pages. Actually, the last 50 pages specifically, I was crying while reading. It was so hard. This trilogy, I think, is my new favorite fantasy trilogy of all time. It is so good. I'm so excited to read more in the realm of the Otherlings, but Robin Hobb's books. It is just incredible. The emotional devastation that Fitz goes through, the things he overcomes, the things that beat him down, the people he's with. It's just so beautiful and so heartbreaking, and I just love this story so much. I cannot see myself not reading this again, in 5 years or less. It is so good. Robin Hobb's writing is great. It's not action packed. There's a battle every other page. I kind of don't like the series of like the Assassin's Apprentice, Assassin's Quest, because you assume there's going to be assassinating. He assassinates like 3 people in this whole trilogy. It's not about that. He is an assassin, but he doesn't do a lot of assassinating. He's honestly more just at the beck and call of the other royals, and he's almost a part of them, but he's also less than a servant at the same time. It's very interesting, extremely political. Oh, it's so good. I love this trilogy so much. The next book I listened to was another indie book, The Immortal Investigations by Michael Cronk. I think the audiobook was fantastic for this. This is a story about I think a British cop who gets embroiled in this vampire situation where he ends up dating a vampire. And it's not like Twilight. It's so much better. It's like, imagine if Twilight was good and the character who was dating the vampire had agency. But this is actually a great story. This is written by the booktuber Michael Cronk, the book guy. Fantastic book reviewer, by the way. Go watch his stuff if you like fantasy books. But it's just a great mystery. It's got a great depiction of vampires, and I love vampires. And it's got a really good romance. Like, this is... I don't know if it's quite a romantasy. I'm going to call it a romantasy, because the romance is, like, a very large aspect, at least of the first book. I'd say it's, like, at minimum 40%, maybe even 60% of the book is the romance. And it's a great romance. It's got some of the smuttiness on the page. It's not too much, but it's well written, too. It doesn't feel overbearing. And it's not like some other romantasy books where it's just lust. But again, it's got a great world where these like typical like we got werewolves, we got shapeshifters, bunch of those like magical creatures that are kind of typical and how they work in the mythology, and it's cool. And I'm looking forward to listening to the other ones. And they're pretty short audiobooks, and they're just super enjoyable. At least the first one is. The second audiobook I listened to was Half His Age by Jeanette McCartney. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. But this book is about a 16-year-old girl who falls head over heels for her brand new English teacher, who's a 40-year-old man. And this girl is so horny, and it's kind of... The book actually doesn't go over the discussions of these predatory relationships a ton. It more goes over how lust turns into love, and how love can turn into feelings of just meh for a person. Like, the grass is always greener on the other side. Like, you always want the unachievable. And once you achieve it, it loses its sweetness. And it is certainly a disturbing book. I think it's probably tied with Tender's The Flesh. The book about cannibalism is tied with this book because it was just really hard to listen to. Like, I listen to audiobooks on 1x speed. That's how it was read. That's how it's meant to be listened to. This book, 1.3 or 1.4, because it was only 4 hours long, but I wanted it to be over sooner because the story, fantastic. It made me think about how I interact with others, my relationship romantically, or even just platonically, friends with others, of how do I view them. If I'm put in a situation where, this is unlikely, but somebody's like coming on to me when I don't want that, like, how do I stay safe and be like, no, please, child, stay away. But it was a great book. I don't know who I could recommend this to, because if you see this cover and you're like, I want to read that, not for any weird reasons, but because that sounds like it's going to be like thought-provoking, you'll probably like it. But if you see that cover and you go, ooh, then stay away. Well written, for sure, but yikes. The next audiobook I listened to was Dark Drinker. This is another indie book by I think my favorite indie author, Zamil Akhtar. He writes the Gunmetal Gods series, and it is metal. It is so good. This is the 4th book in the series. It follows Micah the Metal, who is one of my favorite characters in the series. And it's a story, to my knowledge, the author didn't even plan on writing it. This wasn't gonna be in the series, but he just needed to include it. And it doesn't even include, basically, the main character of the series in this whole book. But it's so well written. This is Lovecraftian horror in a Middle Eastern inspired fantasy world where, like, not kind of like Game of Thrones level of politics, where all of these people are vying for power. These wars, like these massive wars, are going on. There's a bunch of different countries and conflicts, and there's these Lovecraftian gods that get involved, and they mess with people's minds. And I just love how this guy writes insanity and writes like there's a small part, without spoiling much, where there are these like floating letters, and if they touches you, it rewrites your past. Maybe you now have red hair, or maybe you don't have an arm anymore, or maybe you're a tree now, and everyone around you, including yourself, just thinks this is the way it always was. You might have a nagging feeling in your gut that something's off, but you can't place it. And this is just a small example, and it's so good, and it's so well written. I think this is my least favorite book in the... that's not true. They're all so good. This is not the best book in the series, yet I'm still talking about it this way. Like, you gotta read the Gunmetal God series. It's an indie book. It's so good. Read them. The next book I read was a manga, Goodbye Eerie. I reread this because this might be my favorite manga ever. At least my favorite one-shot, for sure. It's just, like, 200 pages. It is... it is about being perceived. It is, like, how do people see you? It is about making art. It's about movies. It's about so much. I read this, and I'm like, I want to make a movie of this manga. Because I think it would actually be pretty easy to do, and especially on, like, an indie budget. I still don't think I could do it. Because, I mean, I don't make amazing things. I don't make terrible things, I hope, but... yeah, like, this is a fantastic manga. It follows... I don't remember what the main character's name is. It's not Eerie. Eerie is the second main character's name. And, yeah, it follows him, he just shortly after the death of his mom. Just before the death of his mom gives him a camera and asks to record my life. And he edits it into a movie after she dies, and it's about... again, it's about how are you going to be remembered through people's memories, through the videos and photos that you take of others, and about how those things aren't real. You see a picture of somebody on Instagram. It's their perfect moment, that picture. They decided what they took, but you didn't see the rest of their day. They could have had the worst day ever. And it's about kind of, again, like, lenses distort the view of reality. You seeing this, you might see my pretty bookshelf, you're seeing me. In reality, before this, I was folding laundry on the couch, and I gave up halfway, and there's just a pile of laundry behind the camera. Because you don't see that. There's no reason for me to clean it up for the shot. Anyway, Goodbye Eerie, incredible. The next audiobook I listened to was Operation Bounce House by Matt Dinniman. Now, this is a one-off, standalone... it's a book, crazy, that doesn't have any sequels, by the guy who wrote Dungeon Crawler Carl. I love Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm so excited for the book 8 in 1 month. I'm counting down the days, practically. I'm looking forward to it. And I listened to Operation Bounce House, and yeah, it's fine. It's fine. The audiobook's good, but none of the characters really stuck with me. Yeah, like, the second half of the book, I was like, okay, I'm really getting into this. But the first half, I'm like, it was alright. It's kind of floor... I don't actually remember which floor of Dungeon Crawler Carl, but there's basically... we're far future. There is an alternative civilization not on Earth, where these people are... It's basically, imagine Earth 2.0, with very few people on it, and they're all just farmers and chilling. And the reason they moved there is so that they could escape the overwhelming negativity and pollution and capitalism of Earth. And now Earth is selling people mechs to land on this planet and kill everybody for the game show that they're doing, kind of. But basically just to clear out these farmers so that Earth can have more space. And very well written book, great concepts to think about. It just, again, the characters didn't connect with me. I think I also expected the fun of Dungeon Crawler Carl, and in a lot of ways this has a more dark tone, which Dungeon Crawler Carl does as well, but again, just didn't click. It's still a good book, but not one of the best, not one that I'm going to remember. And the next audiobook I listened to was just another short one called The River Has Roots by the author who wrote This Is How You Lose the Time War, or at least one of the authors. I forget her name. It's Amal El Malhortar. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it. Beautifully written book. It is a book about words and poetry and just how language weaves together. And it's very Fae inspired and kind of about loving someone when, like, the love for family versus the love for a romantic partner versus the love that's kind of forced upon you by social obligation. And a very beautifully written book. I don't know if it's going to quite stick with me, but I would recommend it. It's only 3 or 4 hours, but yeah, it's just a little story about these two sisters, and yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really know how to sum it up more than that without just saying the whole plot, but yeah, it was good. The next audiobook I listened to was Titan's Nest. I don't remember the author's name. It's probably on screen, but Titan's Nest is a dragon riding fantasy book. We don't have enough of those. But this is a indie book by a booktuber, bookstagrammer, I don't know. He makes comedy stuff on BookTube. But he writes great. He's such a good writer. And it's just, it's a world where instead of like the typical How to Train Your Dragon big dragons, you got these little dragons. And they're very rare. There's only like 5-ish at a time. And you got these little dragons. You learn to train with them. You mind meld a little bit. And then they can become big dragons. And then transform back to little dragons that ride on your shoulder. It's a pretty cool book. And instead of following the typical dragon riders, you're actually following one of the Chosen's brother. Not actually one of the dragon riders. Or the Bitten Knights is what they're called in this world. One of the Bitten Knights. And it's a very interesting perspective. And I really liked it. I would 100% recommend it. I'm excited to read the second one, Cigar's Roost. And I don't know how many books are going to be in the series. But he better write them quickly, because they vibe, they bang, they go hard. Read it. I love indie books. Do it. The next audiobook I listened to was also an indie book. This one is read by Jeff Hayes, the guy who did Dungeon Crawler Carl. Pilgrims by M.R. Leonard. This is aliens come to Earth, first contact story, and they say, yo, what up? You know that Jesus died for your sins, right? Yeah, Jesus was, he died, he rose again, and Catholicism is true. We're here to take communion. And it plunges the world into chaos, and it's so good. And it's played fully straight. It's not a joke, it's not silly, and I loved it. I thought it represented Christianity and Catholicism extremely well. I thought it was a really cool first contact story. Not super hard hard fantasy sci-fi. It wasn't very hard sci-fi because all the sci-fi elements come from aliens and humans don't understand them anyway. But it's just super well written, and it has moral debates. And you think, oh, this is an interesting story. You're probably following an annoying Christian. No, you're following a loser who he knew, like, the Earth knows aliens are coming. He's like, oh, they're going to destroy the Earth. Well, I better spend my last night on a hooker. or sorry, an e-girl on a. Let me spend the OnlyFans perk that lets me sleep with her for real. And he steals his mother's money to do so. Like, literally bottom of the barrel of humanity. And it follows him in this crazy first contact story. It is so good. Apparently there's going to be sequels. This is basically a standalone. You don't need to read any sequels if they ever get written. This book lasts on its own. It's, I want to say, 10-hour audiobook. And again, read by Jeff Hayes, so you better listen to the audiobook. Incredible. I loved it. It was so good. The next book I read physically was The Princess Bride. I have this beautiful big edition of The Princess Bride, and I watched the movie again for like the 4th time, maybe more, and I'm like, wow, I love that story. I gotta read the book. It's sitting on my shelf for the past 5 years. And the book's fine. It's fine. It's not as good as the movie, for sure. It's, in fact, worse than the movie in almost every respect. Now, there's a couple things that I'm like, oh, I'm glad I read that. But it has... So, you know the framing narrative where it's like, oh, Grandpa's telling me a story. I don't like that. I want to play video games. Instead, we have the framing narrative of the author, like the real-life author, William Goldman, is like, my dad read me this manuscript by the fake author, S. Morgenstern, and I'm translating it to English, and I'm abbreviating it because the real version's boring, and my dad skipped and only read the good parts. And it's very strange framing narrative. I appreciate the weirdness of the framing narrative. I like weird stories a lot. But it just didn't work. The movie's so much better. There's almost nothing in the book that's better than the movie. If you love the movie, yeah, read the book. It's a good addition, but it's just fine. It's just fine. And yeah, I don't know. I liked it, but fortunately it didn't take too long to read, so didn't really lose a lot. The next book I read was another manga. I read I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. Hold on. Before you're like, is this another tenders the flesh moment? No. I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, to the best of my knowledge, in Japanese is a saying basically like, okay, so this follows a boy and a girl. We got gloom and sunshine. It's one of those tropes. This is a romance manga where these two, I think high schoolers, one of them, the girl, the sunshine, is dying of pancreatic cancer. And she's like, hey, I only have a year or so left to live. I'm going to live it to the fullest. And this boy is the most antisocial guy ever. And he's like, and he finds her notebook. He learns her secret, even though she's been hiding it from everyone. And she's like, all right, I'm adopting you, introvert. I'm adopting you, and you are going to spend time with me. I'm going to take you out of your shell, and you're going to be the one person I can be fully real around. My family worries about me. My friends don't know that I'm dying. You are going to be the person I can share anything with, because you're not going to share it with anyone else. And it's this lovely story of these two. And it made me tear up. It made me cry. It has this beautiful cover. I got this for super cheap, and I'm like, I've heard about this. It sounds weird. I'd like to read it. It's so good. I think there's a movie. I don't know if the movie's any good. But the manga, which is pretty short. This is, again, a one-shot manga. It's pretty short. It's really good. I recommend it for sure. And the next and final audiobook I listened to for this month was The Poet Empress. I'm actually buying a physical copy tomorrow. Does that tell you how much I liked it? The Poet Empress is incredible. It is the debut novel of... oh man, I don't remember the author's name. Whatever. It's underneath the title of the book, The Poet Empress. This is a fake romantasy. You think it's going to be a romantasy. It's about this girl who is who is chosen to be the new empress of this Asian-inspired fantasy world that's in a famine, and she's decided to be the empress from like the guy who's the big mean emperor to be, and you're like, oh, he's gonna be only nice to her. No, The reason he chose her to be empress, she is this poor farmer girl, and he chose her. She doesn't have any connections, so he can torture her without her having anyone to complain to for real. Because again, if she tells anyone, then they're either not going to believe her, nothing's going to happen, or she's probably going to die. Like, and it is this story of this world where magic is done through poetry, and women aren't allowed to read. They're extremely oppressed, and she has to fight so many battles. She's got to fight her battles that happen at night sometimes with the emperor to be, who again, his magic, floating knives, and he uses them. And in the courtroom where all the other women, the concubines, like, because this emperor to be, he's got like 20 concubines, and he doesn't sleep with any of them. He only chooses to sleep with her. Obviously, they're not actually sleeping together. He's just torturing her, but they hate her, and she's fighting that front. And then on the other front, she's secretly like, okay, well, I got to do something about this. So I'm going to learn how to read so I can write poetry, so I can maybe kill this horrible dude who should not be emperor. And also, I kind of don't like it when he's killing me or torturing me. So fantastic, beautifully written, amazing story. Made me cry, made me go. It is so good. I can't wait to have the actual book. I'm getting it tomorrow. Gonna go right here on my female author shelf, on my female fantasy authors. Look at this. I have this whole bookshelf, and I have one shelf for women writers. We'll not worry about that. But incredible book. Highly recommend. Anyway, that was my quarterly wrap up. I will hopefully actually make 3 more of these in 2026. Technically, one will probably be 2027, but I'll hopefully make 3 more. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully this edited down to a reasonable-ish length. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to make a couple other videos in the near future. I plan on reading a short story I wrote, because I wrote a short story for a contest. It's okay. I like it. I think I did a good job. But I'm going to do an audiobook version of that. I should really do a bookshelf tour, because I haven't done one since I moved into this place, and I really want to record one because I think my bookshelves look really awesome, and I have this cool circle chair. As well as I want to make a little stop motion for an art project I made, and I'm sure there's other things I want to make as well, video-wise on YouTube. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed me talking about books. Thank you for listening. Please read a book. It's good for you. Just read a book, man.